First of all, I truly want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the wonderful prayers you offered during that difficult time when I was a bit out of the picture. It was a period where I felt somewhat isolated from everything. But looking back now, I can honestly say it was a really nice and peaceful time for reflection. I am so grateful for your support. It was 8 months in my little corner. Visits were very restricted, and people always had to wear masks and gloves. But it was a good time. I had an extensive amount of quiet time to commune deeply with the Almighty. I also offered up many heartfelt prayers for your well-being and reflected deeply upon the question of what is truly most important, our eventual departure into the grace of eternity. Never before have I been so incredibly close to God, and yet at the same time, I have never experienced His presence so deeply. There were moments when I thought, God, if you want, you can call me. I felt so free, so free. Even regarding the work, I had no attachment at all. I could feel the entire path that God had made. He did it well. And today, seeing this crowd, only God can make this happen. So the future of the work, I really felt that I didn't need to worry about that at all. Because the work was born from God. And if He brings something into being, He has a plan. He doesn't bring something into being just for it to end tomorrow. So He brings it into being, chooses one person or another, but we can't get stuck thinking only He is the founder, or she, or those people. No, He gives a charism, a gift, a talent, but soon He calls others. And He calls, and everyone who says yes becomes part of the charism. And if tomorrow everything were to end, each one would be able to carry it forward, because it was placed in each one's heart. You are not here by chance. God called you, and so many tell me they feel so good, so happy when they arrive here. All the sacrifice was worth it. Why? Because you feel and experience God. Here you breathe in the charism, and God shapes each one of you. When we are together, He shapes us. I too am always in formation. For what? So that later we can carry it forward. To where? Wherever each one is. Imagine if you weren't here. It would be poor, the charism would be small. But thanks to each one of you, things are growing. And you are representatives of another multitude. I was just in Garanhuns, so many people, even those responsible for the farms whom I don't even know. Thank God. If I knew everyone, it would be small. In just a few days, I'll be going to Argentina. So the whole region there will be involved, which is wonderful. Argentina has grown a lot, a whole lot. It's the second country after Brazil with the most farms. But after that, I'll also make a trip to Chile, to Fazenda Nova. But all these places are growing and moving forward without our presence, but with the charism. So we need to be very clear about what a charism is. Father Luis must have already talked about it, so you're already well informed. But you have to set yourself free from the person, for example, from the founders. In our case, I don't even know, as we are, then Lucia and Racine. If tomorrow God calls us, and surely He will, it's just a matter of time, then there's no reason to be crying and thinking, now everything is over. On the contrary, you can move forward and say, we will continue. That's what Frei also lived by. And you can still count on us in heaven. There, we have even more ways to help than here. This idea that someone dies and disappears, I never liked it. I never liked it. When my parents were alive, I could visit them every 5 years. Now every hour, whenever I need something, the ones I ask the most are my parents, and they never fail to answer. Even the others who live with me have discovered that it works, and they're ordering it for themselves. Because it makes sense. A father and a mother who love their child, a wife who loves her husband, are now there in the triumphant church, no longer in the militant church. Will you stop loving? This was a trial run of learning to love. They're in fullness, they live love. So of course I'll answer. In this sense, you can ask later, let's continue together. But each one has to feel God called me. For what? For this charism. And what is the mission of this charism? First of all, each one is called to become holy, called to live the Word. There's no doubt the Word is implanted in the heart of each one, as yesterday's reading said. Sao Paulo. In the reading it said, God implanted the Word, and by living the Word, now you will have wisdom, because the Word is God. You live it, and God enters into you. Then you will have wisdom. You will have happiness. You will have light, courage. You will see everything that God has. So the Word makes you similar to Jesus, because we were made in His image, in His likeness, and by living the Word, you will become another Jesus. And this is the charism. And so wherever you go, you don't go as a human person, you go as another Jesus who carries the charism. This is something extraordinary. When I walk through these green farms and see our people, some of them, I still remember when they first arrived here, sick, weak, and looking just like discarded trash. But today they have truly become apostles. And people follow them, thirsty to listen to them. And what are they going to give? Wisdom. Where does this come from? From the Word that they learn to live by. So for me, this is the foundation. Because if you look at the country we are living in today, you see suffering every day. Not to mention politics, violence, and also drugs. We end up living in an illusion, and it's getting worse. And with it, so many other addictions. New types of drugs keep appearing all the time. I don't even want to know their names because I'm not really interested. But it's increasing. And what is the solution? What can set us free from all these evils, corruption, and so on? It's the Word. Because the Word of the Lord is the divine wisdom of God. I've always been fascinated and have often asked myself, God, why did you leave your homeland and spend 33 years living on this earth? Only 3 years speaking. Why? And still being beaten and dying? For what? Exactly, not to change anything? God didn't change anything. He didn't end hunger. He didn't end prostitution. He didn't end war. Nothing. Everything continues. But He came to give His word so that all of us could find a way to reach heaven. Because He doesn't want us to live here on earth without illness or without needs, without difficulties. It would even be sad, because in illness and difficulties and our crosses we find God. He is on the cross. There is no cross where He is not on the other side. If He is on the other side, then if I am in pain, I will be with Him. That is a wonder. And then He said, you on the cross. The Father's house has many rooms. You have a Father who loves you, but a Father, we all have the same Father. So it is no different. We are all brothers and sisters, that all may be one. So it is a wonder that God has brought us the lifestyle of heaven. So we have all the time. Before the birth of Jesus, we call it the Old Testament, which deep down is a little more within us. We have this inside us, this eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. How many times do I hear people saying, those criminals should be killed? I am in favor of the death penalty. It is the Old Testament that cries out within us. Justice, we want to put an end to it. That's all. But what about the New Testament? What is it? Love, love, love. Did someone steal from you? Give your tunic if they stole your cloak. If someone strikes your left cheek, offer the right one as well. It's a different way of life. And this is something we need to learn. And whoever lives this way of life becomes new, becomes a new man, becomes a new woman, and has something to offer others. The world, which is thirsty for hope, this hope is in the gospel. He brought the gospel as hope, as a path. Now I am sure that if people started living the gospel, the problems would be solved. For example, hunger. If I look at the land of our friends in Africa, in many places people still die of hunger. They die. I've seen it. So, what is the solution? Jesus said it very clearly. Whoever has 2 tunics should give to the one who has none. Didn't He say that? Imagine if Christians, not talking about others, just Christians, live by this phrase. Would there still be people dying of hunger? Not at all. And how many times do we have it? The habit, look at my room, there are so many things left over that we don't need. So I give them away to free myself. I don't want when I die to leave so many things behind for others to fight over or have the trouble of sorting out. Why? The Gospel says, whoever has 2 tunics should give to the one who has none. Regarding violence, the Gospel says, whatever you do not want others to do to you, do not do to them. Wouldn't this phrase alone be enough for no one to steal? You don't want others to steal from you, so don't steal either. You don't want others to be corrupt, so don't be corrupt yourself. So I see that in the gospel lies the answer to all problems. So since sometimes we can't solve the problems, let's teach people to live by the gospel. And a new person, then things get resolved. I remember, and the gospel has the power even to change cultures and customs. I remember talking about your land of Mozambique. Well, In the beginning, when we arrived there, we didn't have a house, but we would meet under the mango tree. I would ask the young people, "Do you live the gospel?" Yes. And right away, they started telling me their experiences one after another. I was delighted. And it's an experience I haven't forgotten to this day. One of those young people, 7 years old, told me, "Frei, we were living out the phrase from the gospel, whatever you do to others, do to Jesus." He said, "I was going to the city and I saw an elderly lady who had a big basket full of bananas on her head, a child on her back, and 2 suitcases, one in each hand. And she was sweating because it was very hot." And he thought, "Whatever you do to others, do to me." But then he thought, "No, I'm a man. And in Africa, it's women who work, not men. So not me." But the words were powerful. So he thought, "But it's Jesus. Should I go, should I not?" Almost going, he remembered. "But what will my friends say? If they see me, they'll say, 'Did you become a woman?'" And he was once again filled with doubt. But the words were even stronger. Finally, he went. He was surprised because the 2 bags were so heavy that he could barely carry them. But he found a sense of joy. When he told me about his smile, I will never forget it. He said, "For me, it was no longer important what others think, nor what my culture says. I found Jesus." This is the word. The word is stronger than what others say. We live too much according to what the majority does, or what everyone does. The word puts you before God, before what He wants. It doesn't matter what others say. Yesterday, the gospel spoke of Jesus criticizing the Pharisees who were concerned with so many things, washing the dishes, doing this, that. Rules, we have 10,000 rules. So many things. There are 3 laws that go against the gospel, for example, abortion. There is not a single phrase in the gospel that says, "You can kill." But now men make a law and say that you can kill. Even back in the sacred scriptures of the Old Testament, they compelled the prophet Moses to grant a formal permit to allow for a legal separation, the decree of divorce. And Jesus explained, yes, Moses allowed it specifically because of the stubbornness and the hardness of your hearts from the very beginning. But and now he speaks as God, I tell you, what God has joined together, let no one separate. So he corrects, the word corrects us. This is important. And when we get used to living by the word, it gives you peace of mind. They can make a law for abortion. For me, what matters is the word, not the law. I really liked King Baudouin, the King of Belgium. When the Belgian Senate decided that abortion was permitted, as king, he was supposed to sign it. He said no. He abdicated being king for a day, took off his crown, and was no longer king. The one who replaced him signed it. And then he resumed being king of Belgium. He said, I will not sign this. So there are people who have the courage, through faith, through clarity, to take a stand. But who will give us this clarity? Because the confusion is great, even in the church. It's not that simple. There are theologies, there are pastoral approaches, everything changes constantly, it changes. Who gives me the clarity that it's right? The Word. So it is extremely important that we remain faithful to the Word. Hope is our charism. So the last thing to die is hope, right? But sometimes it's not easy. And here I think of Jesus. Knowing this, he embraced a kind of madness. He died on the cross. And St. Paul says, to some people, this might seem like complete madness. For the Greeks, etc., the Jews, and it's true, it's madness. But what did he mean? Even in this madness, in this death, there is resurrection. So he means to say, for all of us, if the world gets worse than it already is, we can embrace the cross. When I receive this kind of news which hurts me, which costs me, but by embracing the cross it becomes resurrection, hope, and the negative becomes positive. Tomorrow in Velasio I will speak to you. Very beautiful. Get ready, it's going to be a moment. And he may ask him to let you hear a meditation that he always presents about the osseous, which is a fish, a creature that when it is hurt doesn't keep crying. Someone hurt me, I'm sick, No. The creature starts to produce a substance called nacre, and it causes the wound to heal from the inside. And in the end, a pearl comes out, very valuable. Nowadays, they even provoke and injure them, and sometimes they get many pearls. But if a creature is not hurt, we could say it's lucky. It wasn't hurt, right? But it has no value because it didn't produce a pearl. And it's the same thing in our lives. If we don't have sufferings that we can embrace as crosses, we don't have pearls. But all the crosses, all the sufferings we accept are transformed and become pearls, treasures. In God there is nothing negative. Even if things in the world are so bad, so many deaths, so much nonsense, like what happens in the Philippines. I see the president killing these young people, giving the police permission to kill all the drug addicts they find. I don't know how many thousands have already been killed. It's absurd. But even so, every pain can be transformed into love, into a pearl. This is our ultimate hope. The final one we hold on to, the absolute certainty that we shall eventually pass beyond this earthly life. I feel sorry for people who think only from birth to death. They will never get it right. Because first of all, this is not the only life there is. Life goes beyond death. And the moment I accept life beyond death, everything else takes on a new perspective. Those who only think about having and dying naturally want everything to go right, to win and to have more and so on. But those who think beyond death change everything. Everything changes. And the Word opens our eyes to what lies beyond death. When I was young, I spent some time in Nigeria, Biafra, where there was war. And I saw a lot of people dying. And we took children with a team of doctors we had brought there from the border to get them out, to save them from death. And we succeeded. I was very happy. Until one day a bomb fell on the school where the children were and killed them all. At that point, I went into a crisis. You have no idea. And I felt a revolt against God. I said, God, you can't be love. If you were love, you wouldn't do this. The child is innocent, has nothing to do with it. I carried that with me for months. Later, I had to leave because the country was becoming too dangerous, risking my life. We left on the last planes. But my prayers were always a struggle with God. Why do you allow these children to die? They are innocent, they don't even have the right to live. Until one day, again arguing with God in the tabernacle, it was as if He said to me, where are these children? And then I started to think, wait, where are they? They are with God, so they are better off than I am. So I said, why am I fighting? That's when it hit me. You can only understand this life here if you think beyond death. Because those children died of starvation, right there under the falling bombs. It was such unimaginable cruelty. But they are fine, they are with God. Those who don't think beyond death don't get it right. And here I became free. Nowadays, I constantly have friends who pass away because I'm already old, right? So my colleagues and everyone else, friars and others, are dying. These days I traveled for 10, 15 days to the northeast, and when I came back, 4 had died, friends. But it doesn't shock me anymore because they're there where I'll be soon. So our cheering section in heaven keeps growing. And one day we'll get there. But you need to be free and not stay there crying or whatever. We are born to pass away, and we die to live. I thought, what is your task? You who have entered into this charism, who have embraced it. For me, there's no difference between resident, volunteer, or worker. These are all just names so we can understand each other and get organized. There are those responsible. Some of you have Mauricio, others have Father Luis, others have someone else, but everyone shares the same charism. Now, what is your task? It's the same as ours, to bring hope. I have no doubt about that. Now, the way you bring it might be a little different. Those who are, for example, inside a farm should bring hope to the residents. You have to set a good example, work together, live together, create a communion of souls. He brings hope to these young people, and then they will take it outside. Each of you is somewhere, I don't know, in a school, a factory, a store, at home, I don't know, each in your own place. And first you have to bring hope there. Then you meet in groups. Here too, you have to care for each other and do everything so that Jesus is among you. Hope is Jesus. Whoever lives the word brings Jesus among us. And this Jesus among you works miracles. And together you have to see what to do. I was happy when I was in Recife. Yamam told me, tonight we're going to the favela up on the hill to bring soup, to meet with the homeless men. And that night the bishop told me, today I'm going along with Jeve up on the hill. Then afterwards he asked me, until what time do they stay there? I said 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. He said, I don't know if I'll be able to stay that long. I said, no, the fact that you're going along is already extraordinary. If you can't make it to the end, just come back earlier. But just to see how many things are born, which I don't know. It wasn't me who inspired it, who said go. It's being born among you, and if you have Jesus among you, there will always be more inspirations. Here in the region, for example, last year, there was a need. There were a lot of leftover diaries, and we can't throw them away. That's money. What to do? So Nelson went there, talked to the owner of a supermarket. Can we sell them in the supermarket? He said, we are a supermarket. We don't have any books or anything like that. But since he knows the farm well, he says, if you want to try, send 260 planners to 2 stores, Lorena and Gora. And the promoters will advertise, he says. Let's see if they sell. Of course, we sent a lot of people, the best salespeople, okay? In one weekend, both stores were out. So we went there and he said, congratulations, did you sell everything? Yes. Do you have more? Yes, we have 5,000 more. Then he said, so we should sell them in all the stores. Okay, let's sell and give it a try. But we told him, whatever doesn't sell, you can send back. There's no need for a loss. And that's when Jeve really got involved. You should have seen it. It was amazing. We managed to sell them all. And it was already February, March, April, already out of season. And then we said to him, next year, can we continue this experiment? He looked and said, it worked, didn't it? Yes, it can be done. So this year from 5,000 we increased to 20. This happened because it was also just before the Christmas season and even now. But then we decided to visit 2 more local supermarkets. And fortunately, the owners there also agreed to the plan. So now these diaries will be offered in supermarkets. You should have seen the joy of these young people and men and women from GV, as well as from the Communion School. Everyone who went, what they experienced. So many conversations, so many people opened up, shared that they had children, so many beautiful things happened. I thought until now we had always gone to the church door to sell. We brought hope to Christians, but now in the supermarket we reach so many others, people of other religions, atheists and others, and they will take it. It brought me such joy, but it was an initiative that God inspired, and so I'm sure that every moment something new will be born. In Bicos, there in the prison, how wonderful. Here too, they are going to the prison in Putim. And so you need to stay open to this presence of Jesus among us. To finish, 3 years ago I had a heart attack there in Fortaleza. Incredible. At the end of the retreat with the priests, days of paradise. And on the last day I had a heart attack. Nelson, my brother, they took me to the hospital. We were far from the city. It took a while to get there. And the whole trip I thought, this could be my last hour. When I got there, they rushed. It was straight to the operating room. Even there, in that place, I felt a deep sense of peace, a profound tranquility. There was a very kind young man there, a dedicated nurse, who carefully prepared me for the upcoming operation. He said, yeah, you're a priest. You have so much peace. I'm a sinner. He started saying that he had done everything wrong. I said, but are you sorry? Then I can forgive you. Is that impossible? I said, that depends on you. He wanted to, so I forgave his sins, and then everything was calm. When I left the room, I thought, I'm alive. I met Nelson, my brother, again. Later in the ICU, for those who have already experienced it, you end up a little alone. At night there are few visitors. And I always ask God, what do you want me to do with the time I have left? I don't know how much time. It felt almost as if he said to me very clearly, give me a real opportunity so that I can be among you. I said, God, you don't need to ask for a chance. You are in charge. No, give me the chance. That's when I understood. If we don't love each other, God cannot be present. He says, where two or three are gathered, there I am. Love attracts him. Where there is no love, even at the final judgment, to some he said, I do not know you. And they said, we preached in your name. We did so many good things in your name. He said, no, I was hungry, thirsty, you see. You do not love. Those who do not love do not attract God. So I said, God, then help me. I want you to always be among us. I want to give my life to create this presence of Jesus. And he told me, if you give me this chance, I will do everything I have always done. I heal the sick, cast out demons, raise the dead. Many are dead, those who do not love are dead. And whoever loves passes from death to life. Then I multiply the fathers. And so it goes on. I tell you, I see this every day, the multiplications and everything. So what would I like to say to you? Have Jesus in your midst. Give him a chance to be present in your meetings, in your homes, in your families. Spend everything so that he can be there. It costs, it's not easy, but start again. Ask each other for forgiveness. Don't be afraid to humble yourself and say, sorry, I got nervous. And so with him present, he will inspire you. He will carry this charism forward. He will tell you what you should do. There's no need to be afraid. If he is there, you will do little, he will do much. A lot. Thank you.